All right, guys. Super Bowl 60. It happened. Sam Darnold won. Drake May was the representative for the AFC. He had a 30 QBR through the playoffs, sacked 6 times, 2 interceptions in a losing effort, while our 4 kings, generational quarterbacks, Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, and Jackson, were 3 of them missed the playoffs. Allen probably wishes he missed the playoffs. Instead, we got a tearful press conference where he lost to the Broncos, who quarterback got hurt and lost after that. And our generational quarterbacks were out of the playoffs. So before the season started, there was a minus 270 were the odds that one of those 4 teams would represent the AFC in the Super Bowl, which is like mathematically, I think it's like 73%. It's like as close to will the sun come up tomorrow as possible. So all those teams and quarterbacks had a hell of an offseason in reaction to all of that craziness because our generational quarterbacks are at a crossroads. Welcome to the Domonique Foxworth Show. I'm Domonique Foxworth. We got Charlie Kravitz here and the person who most I know enjoyed my, what was that? Is that a soliloquy? Is that a monologue? I guess. Yeah. My top of the show monologue is Nate Tice, because no one loves quarterbacks as much as him. I think he loves quarterbacks almost as much as he loves his cat. Hey,
Midge. Hi. Hey, guys. Great to see you. Yeah, my cat's named Midge.
What up, Midge?
Painting. One of them, Mina also painted a Midge mural, but that one's not up here right now. It's not ready for prime time yet. But no, great to see you guys. Ready to talk some quarterbacks, maybe some felines.
Mina sent me a watercolor of my dog as well. And it's so prominently sweet. Displayed in my front entryway.
Oh, sweet. So sweet. I just put in all that effort to have a big, dramatic, high-stakes setup, and we talk about Midge.
Well, hold on.
We talk about Midge.
I need to take a 20-second timeout. Right. Now that Mina has come up into this, can I tell the story of what happened yesterday?
Now that Mina's come up, you only brought that up in order to embarrass me.
That's right.
This is a good topic. I'm excited.
It's a great topic.
I'm excited. We are at this huge crossroads for these generational quarterbacks. It's going to define this second act of their careers. It's going to define how we talk about this generation forever. Will it be Brady and a bunch of other losers, or will these guys step up and get to the place that we expect them to be? Will some of them step up? Some of them not step up? They made big decisions in the offseason. Firing coaches, hiring new coaches, making big trades to get D tackles and receivers. So much stuff happened. And it is going to define the way that we write the history books for the NFL. Instead, we talk about Midge, and Charlie wants to embarrass me at the top of the show.
Do you know how this is definitely an embarrassing story based on how much subterfuge just came out?
Oh, yeah, it's definitely embarrassing. Go ahead. Knock yourself out.
Okay, well, I'll make this quick.
Okay.
Nate, the reason Domonique provided so much subterfuge is because this is actually an embarrassing story.
It is very embarrassing.
Yesterday, and we will get back to the quarterbacks very quickly. Yesterday, Domonique sent in a group chat to me the complex top 25 sports media personalities list. He also sent it to Mina Kimes congratulating her. He then called me about it and was like, it's pretty cool that Mina was number 10 on the list. I was like, oh, I must have missed it. I didn't see her on the list. Malik Andrews is 11. Pablo Torre, our friend, is number 9. Domonique saw woman and then Asian person conflated, got to Mina Kimes and just texted her congratulations.
This is the extra stuff is on you. All extra stuff is on you. I made a mistake. I apologize. Assuming that you know the reason, and that's all on you.
The evidence is circumstantial, but significant.
No, it's not. You know what the evidence is? Did you not see the New York Times a couple of days ago? That's the evidence.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yep, there we go. Suck the fun out the room. You want to gang up on me? Suck the fun out the room.
No. We can move on. This is more fun. Let's get to these quarterbacks.
Okay.
Actually, that might have been fun, but it didn't end up fun. Let's get to the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
That's a good detour.
Nate, first I want to get your opinion because I feel like I stumbled upon something that I think is really significant that we haven't been doing shows about. No one's doing big TV debate arguments about, but it does feel like we're at this year 8-ish, 9-ish point in a career for all four of these guys whom we determined in their second or third year for any of them that they were going to be amongst the all-time great quarterbacks in football. And we all were like, they'll win one eventually. They'll get there eventually. And now we are here, and it's happened for one of them 5 times. Mahomes has been 5 times. Burrow's been 1 time. Mahomes won 3. But the other 2, they haven't gotten there. And we're at this point where it's obvious, or at least it seems obvious to me, that they are in, I don't want to call it panic mode, but the way this offseason transpired, it feels like all 4 of them are like all hands on decks. It has to happen now, right?
I'm looking at all of them and looking at, like, when I look at these guys and I'm going to include Burrow here as well, but all these teams as a franchise, or at least they're trying something. They're turning over every stone. When they're on the rookie quarterback contract, it's great. Like, we can do we can take chances with a whole bunch of things. The needle gets harder to thread, with contract stuff and how you build around a team. You also get, I think, some complacency with coaches. And I think this is just human nature, where they realize that that's been their easy button for a while. And so other things kind of rot away. I think some teams are smart and trying to add on and realize that, and some just let it fester maybe a year too long. So I look at all these teams, especially in all these quarterbacks, I should say too, and their situations. I have optimism about all 4, and also some pessimism we'll get into as well with all their situations. But I agree. I think all 4 are at a crossroads. And this is why the whole league this year, the 2 best teams in the NFL are in the NFC in the same division, the Seahawks and the Rams. The AFC is wide open. I keep saying it over and over and over again. It's because it's not the fault of these quarterbacks. It's the circumstances around them. It's GMs missing time and again. It's offensive leans that they try to get into. Either they lean too much into one way, or they're trying to get away from that. There's new pushes, like Joe Burrow is going to get pushed into trying to do some new things, I think, this year, or things maybe he's a little bit more uncomfortable with. But I think all these guys have had to do that in their career. Some of it's gotten underrated because they were successful doing it. In which we can talk about as well as maybe the advancement of the mental play of all these guys.
I want to unpack all 4 of these guys individually.
Yeah.
I think I want to start with Josh Allen. I guess I'm thinking, and maybe I'm wrong, whose situation to me is most interesting. It comes down to Allen or Jackson to me is most interesting. It feels like the stakes, at least, for those guys are incredibly high. I guess Burrow, the stakes are really high too. Mahomes, he's in this conversation, and the way that they're behaving in the offseason suggests that they want to do some dramatic things. And there could be some more dramatic moves if things don't happen well for them this season. But I think the bar that they have to clear is lower than these other guys. And the reason why I end up on Allen and Jackson, because I think Burrow, they need competence, right? Like, they need competitiveness and competence. They make it to the playoffs, win a playoff game. I think maybe there's conversation about Zach Taylor, but if the defense improves and they look like a solid outfit, and Joe Burrow's healthy, I think at the end of this year, things feel a little bit more stable there.
Well, then let's start with the Josh Allen of it all.
Yeah.
So you're saying this is an inflection point for him. When you say that, what are the stakes for him? What defines success for, like, where he's been and where he's going?
Josh got to get to the Super Bowl. Right. And I think the difference between Josh and Lamar, and they're going to be paired together forever for a number of different reasons, same draft class and everything else that forces us to discuss them together. They're the runner-ups to the Mahomes dynasty, and they both change coaches at the same time. And please correct me if I'm wrong, either of you, but it feels more like while Josh and Lamar both may have wanted new coaches, it feels a lot like Josh chose his new coach, and it doesn't feel like that for Lamar. So to me, and then you put on top of it that it felt like Brandon Beane, the general manager, was pretty clearly against expending any extra capital in order to get a true number 1 receiver. But then they went and traded for DJ Moore, which to me, and this is reading between the tea leaves, so like may not be true, but to me, it feels like that was not completely his idea. It just feels to me that Josh Allen has his hand on the steering wheel of the organization more than any other quarterback does right now. And I think because Joe Brady's a young coach and the pressure's really high right now, what happens for them this year, and they have a really tough opening 5 games of the schedule. What happens for them this year, I feel like the stakes are so much higher. And the Lamar stuff is interesting. We'll get into that eventually. But I guess I just want to hear how you want to respond to that, Nate.
I think, no, I agree. This is some hesitation I've had with the Bills this offseason because there's moves I've liked with the team, but also they've made their bed. Like this is so basically the owner has come out, and I don't think anyone's holding the owner in high esteem with his press conferences this offseason, but he straight up goes, oh, Bean gets to stay here, the GM, because he found Josh Allen, and we're hiring Joe Brady because that was Josh Allen's coach and buddy. And guess what? We're also giving the backup quarterback, Kyle Allen, more money than the minimum because that's Josh Allen's golf buddy. So the backup quarterback, the offensive coordinator, or the head coach, and the play caller, and the GM are all there because of you. And he sat in meetings. So, yeah, I think a lot of pressure's on him. And this is a guy, I love Josh Allen. I think he's phenomenal. I have had a lot of thought this offseason, the last 2 off seasons, about where I have him in my like all-time quarterback rankings, because that's how high I hold him.
Give it to me. No. You can't just throw that out there. Give it to me. Where is he at? Did you land on the spot?
Now it was more like, oh, he's real. Mahomes is only a guy that I would hold up in the all-time guys. Like, I have my own rankings and stuff. Like I have Peyton as my GOAT. Like I think he was the greatest because of what he just carried.
Both of you guys.
We're the only ones. I don't say that in public often, but you and I are the only two who believe that.
That might have been my first time I've ever said it publicly.
Yeah, we're going to get pilloried, but it's fine. We're together.
Yeah, and then Brady, Marino. I have Marino way high up there. I don't, there's a guy, I hold Steve Young higher than a lot of other people. Like I consider him like a top 6 guy. I have Mahomes up in the top 5. And then Allen, though, is in that he's right around Young to me. Like he's in that next tier. I consider him like a top 10, top 12 guy. I really at least trending that way. He's doing things I've never seen a quarterback do. The total package of physical ability, he's way better mentally than people realize. He's been handling protections for years now, even though I know last time I was here, I talked about some old quarterbacks getting mad at young quarterbacks, and I won't do that again. But no,
did you get attacked for that?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
Afterwards, 3 weeks after, like it kind of like picked up after. Yeah, it was weird. No, but he's like Brett Favre combined with Cam Newton. To me, that's how I mold him in my head with some pre-snap cognition.
You're a great guest. Sorry to cut you off. You're a great guest in part because you keep lists, which Charlie loves.
I made a list last night.
Yeah, I know Charlie made a list. I couldn't tell. Charlie always makes lists.
I was opening the list once he said that because I had Josh 12th, which was pretty good.
Yeah,
anyway, continue on.
And like the comparisons, like the old quarterback comparisons, I wasted a couple hours this morning coming up with who I thought was like the comps from each generation for these current quarterbacks. And the thing that got me stuck was thinking about it for Josh Allen is like, I feel like the comp is really going to depend on how his career ends, right? Because this is very Elway-like in that he's a superstar, incredible, hyper athlete that throws the ball like crazy, that got to the end of the road with his first head coach and brought in an offensive guy that he liked, which was Mike Shanahan for Elway, and is Joe Brady elevating for Josh Allen. Like, what happens from here will really determine whether it matches up perfectly or not. But and the funny thing is, we all know that when we get far enough away from these, we'll just look back and say, this guy was a winner or this guy wasn't a winner.
Yeah.
But you think about Elway, and you can't help but think about how Terrell Davis really meant so much to the way that we remember Elway winning those Super Bowls. In the Marino situation, it's like he never really had a defense, which Josh Allen's in that situation now. And you just want, that this one player's legacy and his rank on these all-time lists is going to be defined in part by if the other guys step up and make plays for so many of these guys in these situations.
Yeah, and his, I understand like the Broncos game, everything that happens last is what lives in everyone's head, and their heads. He was doing things in that game that it's like he's the reason because of it. James Cook fumbled early. He's thrown to Brandon Cooks against one of the best DB rooms in the league, and no offense to Brandon Cooks, but Brandon Cooks in 2025 is different than Brandon Cooks in 2016. So that's what these things, what these guys carry. That's why I hold Peyton in such high esteem. It's like, everyone remembers Marvin Harrison Jr. Those defenses weren't doing anything outside of 1 year, and the whole line never, I mean, Jeff Saturday was a good player, but like the rest of the line wasn't like name guys. You know, the run game was nothing in the later his Colts career. You know, the Broncos is its own thing. But I do think that sometimes with Allen, there are parts of his game that gets kind of washed away, the subtleness of his game that he's improved upon. That's why I hold him in such higher esteem. I'm not a guy, I think that's what I've been trying to beat over the head with people, is that quarterbacks have to play differently now. And the fact that they have to be a combination of athleticism and all the mental stuff. But that's the thing. It's not an idea. Allen is doing it. And other guys we're going to talk about in this category are doing it as well. He's that kind of new breed. And it's just, he doesn't miss time, even though he's running the ball 100 and something times. That might have to change as well. Because again, in the history of football, no one has held up with that many hits. Is he the outlier? He's the Derrick Henry of quarterbacks. Like that's
possible.
That's what I'm more interested in. Is there to drop off physicality because he takes so many hits?
The more we talk about Josh Allen, the more I realize that while he's in a similar position as these other quarterbacks, he had an awesome year last year. Of these four guys, he's the only one that was still incredible all season long. Like Mahomes has not been the Mahomes that we expect in a long time. Lamar had injuries and declined some last year. Burrow, of course, is the injuries and stuff. But like Josh Allen, it was one game. It's one game in a very big moment that I think that did lead to like a dramatic overhaul in offseason.
Well, this is one thing I think is really interesting. I'd love your opinion on, because you look at some of the stats from last year, and it was the first time that defensive philosophies, and this is what to your point, Nate, about how quarterbacks have to play differently, where they were like, we're going to try and eliminate some of the big plays from Josh Allen. And this stuff was all like, FTN did a really good job writing about this, how his average depth of target dropped to 24th last year, but he was still able to manufacture explosive plays with his legs and with his arm. And it's like, okay, if this is a crossroads for his career where he changes and he elevates, he goes down a John Elway path, or it's potentially Cam Newton path because he's so big and we don't know. It's like the Derrick Henry part of it. They bring in DJ Moore. You're hoping that Khalil Shakir drops into a more appropriate role with DJ Moore there. Maybe James Cook's more of a part of the passing game, and you get a healthy Dalton Kincaid ceiling. Like if you're going to play this out for this working and this not working, how does the next 3 to 5 years look for Josh Allen for you? I know that's broad, but what are some of the tenets that you think where this works or it doesn't?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the not working is the Marino path. To me, is like he becomes less of a runner and more of a passer, and the defense never quite gets figured out. Because I have of all of these guys, and I'd love to hear you answer Charlie's question and start by answering my question. Of all of these guys, who do you feel confident will continue, like isolated, will continue to play at the top elite level for longer?
Mahomes he's already figured out the old man game.
Yeah.
Like I know he scrambled last year a whole bunch, but that's because he had to. And that's because he just went, okay, but that's him finding a new checkbox to, okay, I'm going to do it this year. He calls out the fronts of defenses right now. Like he goes odd, even. I've never seen a quarterback do that. And then the offense has time past the offense.
Man. Like odd, even. You can't. You need to pick that up. Like what's going on here?
It's cities, man.
That's
like,
how they do it. It's weird. I've never seen a quarterback do that where they call the front.
You don't need to call the front. Open your eyes. Anyway, I'm sorry.
I know. Maybe it's because they're on the same page. I don't know. I've never seen that method. But just showing the mental growth of his game. And I love watching Mahomes. Like I'm trying to be such a, because Dominique, when you played, that's the era, that lives in high esteem in my brain, in my heart.
Mine too.
And I watched Mahomes, and at first, in his first year blowing out, I was like, he's just running around. That's not a quarterback. That's just chucking stuff. The offense is gimmicky. And he has grown on me on just the quarterback stuff that he does, looking DBs off, looking defenders off, locking in on safety and knowing he has to flip his eyes all the way to the opposite field because that's where his read goes. Just shortcutting stuff, running quick game, running down the field stuff. The deep ball's tapered off on him. But deep balls are kind of a receiver stat as well. And he's thrown to Tyquan Thornton, who wasn't even good enough for the Patriots receiving room. And some of the stuff is because of what the offense did. Andy Reid did give it a really high floor. but I think he has overcome
sorry to cut you
the
off.
offense.
I respect
No,
that you're forcing us into the Mahomes, so I will take the bait, but not before you answer Charlie's question about Josh Allen. Like, you're going to force us to Mahomes. I'm not mad about it. I love Mahomes, but Charlie's original question was like how you feel it, how you would see it, and this is my fault. I blamed it on you, but I asked you a question. You answered it with Mahomes. Sorry about that. I blamed you. Sorry. Don't blame your teammates. Hand up. That's on me.
In 3 to 5 years?
How do you see the best case scenario for Allen playing out for the next 3 to 5 and the worst case scenario for Allen, which I assume is like a Cam Newton style physical decline. Yeah.
Yes, that's worst case, is these hits add up, which, again, it has for every football player that's ever played in the NFL. It's like a point at one that's taken that many touches and hasn't tapered off. Quarterback, running back, anybody. Physical receiver, anybody. Tight end. Blocking tight ends don't last forever. It's one of these things. So he has played games where he is chucking it all over the yard and not running. But the thing is, what is his superpower is running. And I'm not scared. I just think the personnel around him, it depends on the personnel around him. Maybe that's the best way I could put it. And right now it's not totally ideal. The line's pretty good. The tackles looked like crap in preseason. I will say that. But the receivers, I thought were DJ Moore. I like the addition, but I like Khalil Shakir. I'm glad he brought him up, Charlie. Dalton Kincaid's fine. He's kind of like a specific role player, like very receiver only, not a good blocker. But again, it's not like the best group around him. And so that's the thing is like, I just want to see him lean into, hey, maybe not chuck and duck, but really allow drop back 5 steps, 7 steps. He's got to attack downfield and drop back. And that's another quarterback, Burrow, I'm going to talk about with that as well, where he's got to get back to that part of his game. I'm actually encouraged what Joe Brady did in the preseason with Allen, because I think they're seeing it the same way, but I want to see it for 17 weeks. Joe Brady's issue is the next step. His first page of his playbook or his first opening stuff is really good. It's as the season goes along, what's the next step? And that's what I want to see. So for me, it's more of the downfield drop back game, which is the irony, because when he entered the league, it was how much he launched the ball down the field. So, but that's what I think he's got to get back to.
I was a little bit surprised. I chose, like, Charlie and I had some of these conversations before the show, and Charlie and I both agreed that, like, who we trust to have a better career from here on out. We both said Mahomes, despite the fact that he's been not quite as the Mahomes that we think he was up until this point. And honestly, I expected you, given the quarterbackiness of your quarterbacking, I expected you to say Josh Allen. So, like, we should dive back into the Mahomes stuff, because their offseason, to me, is so much about the fact that they haven't been that good in several years, despite the fact that they
made 2 Super Bowls.
They made it to 2 Super Bowls and won one.
Yeah.
It's like, I know how absurd that sounds, but like, and anyone who listens to this show probably knows all the like single score game stats and how those flip and how the last 2 years were like, what happened last year? They were 1-9. The year before that, they were like 11-0 and made that run. So like, that's not an accurate depiction of who this team really is. But what surprises me is Josh Allen's offense has been great for a while. It's been a long stretch where Mahomes' offense was either being freaky on 3rd and long or just not being good. No running game, no real talent or consistent, healthy talent at receivers. I'm surprised that you were not willing to go on a limb and say, like, you trust Josh Allen's future as a quarterback more than you do Mahomes's.
It's I think I've just already seen him do it. Like, I've already seen how he has to age. There's even been games.
Oh, I get it. So we're already in stage 2 of successful Mahomes, and we haven't. Yeah, we're still in stage 1 of successful Allen, right?
We're starting stage 2 of Allen now, and then now it's And I think Mahomes is actually more. I think Mahomes is about to enter the next chapter with the next personnel around him, with I think a good old line in front of him as well. Even Mahomes' bad years, quote unquote, are top 8 quarterback seasons. And that's what around him. Like, he makes it look so much better than it is. Like Isaiah Pacheco, they're bringing in Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco, Detroit. And they get Isaiah Pacheco, who a couple of years ago, everyone's like, we got a good run game. We got Pacheco. He got $1 million this offseason on the open market. And Kareem Hunt's on the street. And those were the running backs for the last 2 years. And they went to the Super Bowl one time with it. They had 2 of the worst run games in terms of explosive run rate in history the last 2 years. 755th out of 768 last year in terms of explosive runs. And this is just running back runs, not including Mahomes' scrambles. And then 2024, that was an improvement on 2024, where they ranked 758th out of 768 since the year 2000. And again, I bring up Travis Kelce's a legend, but this is Travis Kelce on his last legs, and he's still effective, but it's not what he was. The receiving room's crap, but he still makes it work operating in drop back. Some RPOs, which I'm a little scared of because they went away from the RPOs, and that was actually beneficial to the offense. But this is a guy that I've seen handle drop back stuff, can make every throw. The creativity he throws with, he does stuff that I can't even fathom, but he does it the real quarterback ways, if that makes sense. It's funny how what his early career was with all the creativity he had, and then what he has become and just so much more evolved as a player. So yeah, and honestly, the underlying stats too. This is including the bad years. So it's since 2013, 167 qualifying quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes, first in successful plays per snap, first in explosive plays per snap. He is 12th in interception rate. He's even 7th in throwaway rate. He even does the safe stuff really well. Like he is a quarterback, and I think it's still people just haven't. I think people still have the idea of what he actually plays like, and it's different to what he plays like.
Hasn't been that like abstract artist that we remembered that we fell in love with in a while.
Well, brutally effective as opposed to the crazy stuff. Yeah, it's just been brutally effective. 24 points, basketball scorer. Everything's from 15 to 18 feet, as opposed to Steph Curry in his prime or something. What he looked like.
Well, are we going to see any of that ever come back? Like, do you see if they get the right personnel, some of that comes back to Mahomes' game?
Yeah, it's at least we got a window here. Once they hit 34 with a couple injuries now, okay. But I think you got 2-3 year window here. I think you want to take advantage of what the offensive line is. I think this is the little push. I don't think they could be a sneaky playoff team because I do think there's defense improvement there. And Kenneth Walker's banged up, but I did like what they're trying to go for in the run game. They could be like the 7 seed, something like that. I think next year though, very interested in what they acquire and what they end up doing in next year's like draft and offseason and everything, because that could be the push is next year.
It sounds like hidden in some of your analysis, and I shouldn't use you to shield myself from some of my intrusive thoughts, but Andy Reid, man.
But we're going to do it anyways.
Andy Reid. No, I was about to. I'm not using it. I don't have a fleshed out conversation, but as we're saying,
we're all thinking it.
All these other coaches, all these other players are moving on from their coach, like Andy Reid, a legend, incredible. Yep. And we always include Andy Reid's name in the reasons why this is a good spot for Mahomes. And it's very difficult to look at the offense for the past 3 years and appreciate the value that Andy Reid is bringing. So like I've read a bunch about like the way that he is around the building, how the players feel about him, and of course his network and relationships, but I also have seen him coach for a long time, and it looks very similar to the way it always has. There's some inflexibility in the way that he coaches, and it's possible that there's a future, I'm sure there'll be a post-Reid future at some point for Mahomes. But it's possible that future will come sooner than we expect, depending on what happens in this year or next.
Yeah. I mean, shoot, he's been a head coach since, 99 was his first year in Philly? I mean, Andy Reid is one of the people I respect the most in the football world. Like, it's just ideas, his relationship with my dad, I'll even include that. But if I'm being frank, and as a neutral analyst, like the game, there's some scheme stuff that has passed him by a little bit. And I do think there has been a little bit of a rut.
Send it right to Andy, clip that. And send it
no,
Andy. I'm just joking.
And this is what scares me is all the assistants are all his guys. Mm-hmm. And that's another appeal of Andy. But when you hit a rut with, innovation, like that's the thing is like in the 2010s, that was like, what is Andy Reid going to whip out in week 1? Brad Childress is the spread game analyst, and they have these new concepts that they stole from Carson Wentz and North Dakota State, and Kareem Hunt's catching wheel routes against the Patriots. That has kind of fallen by the wayside outside of like, the Jackson 5 spins in the red zone and stuff like that. So it's kind of that they have, I feel like they've been in a little bit of a conceptual rut, and they don't have the personnel to kind of pull them out of that other than number 15 and the O-line a little bit.
And that's one thing that's been sort of reported coming out of camp is that I think some people hope that Eric Bieniemy would bring back some of the Ben Johnson DNA for the run game.
Little Trojan horse action. It's like, we bring back Bieniemy because he's one of Andy's guys, but he got some fresh ideas.
Yeah, and some of the reports are that's like, Mahomes is under center, but it kind of just looks the same. And I think that's kind of interesting because that would be, when you said he already has the old man game, it's like I got a tiny bit sad because like you're right, but I also want a little bit of an evolution of this because we parallel track Brady and Mahomes a lot, and obviously one of the things that we separated Mahomes and Brady for was that Mahomes came into the league as the ultimate playmaker, while Brady was death by 1,000 paper cuts, and then Mahomes arrived to this place really, really early. But what's interesting is in that 10-year gap between Super Bowls for Tom Brady was when we saw him lighting up downfield with these teams. And that's where my hope is that if we iterate with Mahomes and it's, an adapted 2026, 2027, 2028 offense of this, is that there is some of that, as I continue to track him with Brady, exciting downfield throwing, because he's one of the most creative, accurate, like powerful throwers we've ever seen.
Yeah.
I know that I started this by saying the stakes are highest for Josh Allen and Lamar, and I think we go to Lamar next, but I think the stakes are really high for Mahomes too. It's just oftentimes when you think about like the stakes, you think about what happens if things go wrong. For Patrick Mahomes, we were having GOAT conversations, and those have fallen by the wayside. So the second half of his career,
he's not even unanimous QB1 right now.
Yeah,
he's lost the title belt, but he vacated the title belt.
He could get back in that conversation, and that's a huge thing, because right now it feels like, despite what you and I feel about quarterbacks, Nate, this league, when you think about the league, it's like this is Tom Brady's league, and prior to that it was like Joe Montana's league. We have a chance very quickly after, depending on what happens for the next 8, 9, 10 years of Mahomes' career, that changes over again, and that to me is huge stakes. I don't know, it feels unfair to ask you what you think is more likely, but I think it's probably more likely that he doesn't do it, considering what we've seen and what is realistic to expect.
And you just even look at the conference. I mean, we're just talking about three of the guys that are in the AFC, and then you got Drake May with the Patriots, you got Justin Herbert with the Chargers. So it's not like he doesn't have a lot of room to slip up. Some of these guys that have everyone's going to think I hate Tom Brady, but it's like just with the Patriots, they got to play in the AFC East during the 2000s.
That's pretty nice.
Pretty great times to play in the AFC East, some of that matters. Like what division, what conference you're playing. That's to Mahomes' credit, and the run the Chiefs went on with their mini dynasty. It's a dynasty. It's 3 titles. Mm-hmm. During that dynasty is that they were beating some heavyweights. They were beating, if you look at DVOA and FTN and everything, they do some of the best teams that didn't win. It's Ravens teams, it's Bills teams from this era. Yeah. So it's something I think down the road we'll go, oh man, those other teams were really good that he played against. But right now it's just, we're more worried about the current narratives that they're going on. But honestly, you even mentioned a guy like with Montana and stuff. Mahomes' athleticism always shines to me in how flexible he is, which again, we don't know he's got another injury. Montana was always really flexible. And so that's where I've always thought that Mahomes could be a souped up Montana as he got older. And that a true Shanahan guy comes in. Maybe Kyle Shanahan sees the writing on the wall with the 49ers. Maybe he sees everybody aging out into their 30s. Maybe he sees, the Kansas City spot's coming open. Oh, I wouldn't mind that right now.
Yeah, this is Charlie.
Has anyone looked at Kyle Shanahan's contract lately? So maybe that's something. Hey, but that's kind of what I've looked at is I think he would fit into those offenses that are just a little bit more modern or Shanahan modern and fit to a T in that.
Nate, before the show, I pitched this idea to Domonique as well of Kyle Shanahan being the next coach. I swear to God, the next coach of the Chiefs.
And have you looked how old it is?
Yeah, I told Charlie that that Kyle Shanahan doesn't want a quarterback that's that talented.
They really don't. They really like the guys that they love Kirk Cousins, man, for a reason.
Man, love
they want the you do what I wrote on the board.
Exactly.
And you do it well.
You lose the value of Kyle Shanahan if you pair it with Mahomes. Like, it's duplicative right there at that point.
Let me dream.
And I would say at least he give you a running attack, but they didn't have that last year. So what are we getting? The 49ers, that is, of course, the Chiefs didn't have running attack. All right, so the Lamar situation, the reason why that to me is up there, and I could argue is more interesting or more dramatic or higher stakes, and it's something that I keep bringing up, and I'm surprised it doesn't catch on more.
You're on the front lines of this. No one else has been talking about this. No one else has looked at his SPO track.
Yeah, Lamar has the decision next year. And it seems like he orchestrated it. I've said it on microphones a number of times, and no one seems to be interested that Lamar has a no trade and a no franchise tag clause and a plus $80 million cap hit. So that means
extend or
that means normally you don't get to this point. Of course, most of the time, great quarterbacks don't become free agents. But normally they get to the end of their contract and the team has some leverage in a franchise tag or some way to be able to start negotiations, or like Mahomes and Allen, they just renegotiate way ahead of time. The idea that Lamar had all that leverage, like I don't think it's coincidence that Lamar had all that leverage or has all that leverage headed into this season, and then a lot of changes were made. So, like, that's the thing that I have my eye on, that Lamar is doing a very NBA, it feels like he's put himself in a very NBA-style situation where it's like, I can do what I want at the end of the season. So let's get it right. So that, to me, is huge because they're not going to cut him, but they also can't exist with a player with an $80 million cap hit next year. So, like, at the end of the season, he can decide what he wants to do. If he wants to sign the extension, or if they offer him an extension he doesn't like, you're like, all right, well, I'll play for $80 million, or you trade me to exactly who I want to go play for. It's like, that's huge.
And it's almost a trial for the new coaches.
Right.
Do I like you? Which I think he likes Minter, so I'm not worried too much about it. But it's like, or Declan Doyle, the new OC. Maybe he's just like, no, I don't mesh with him. All
to be clear, everything that's come out has been incredibly positive. It's been
incredibly positive. I haven't seen anything, and even behind the story, people I've talked to, everything's been great.
He showed up to all the voluntary, and then they're happy about the way he reads everything. Yep. He's happy about the situation that they're putting him in. They extended flowers, and Jacoby Lane apparently is playing really well. Like, that situation to me is really interesting. It's super high stakes. Charlie makes fun of me about this, but he also, I think, agrees with me, is like, it's a really well-run organization that doesn't make too many, like, stupid decisions. So, like, I expect them, and they, unlike the Bills, have, like, a much more manageable start to the season, which I think matters for a first-time head coach with a superstar quarterback with a team with high expectations. So, like, I am less worried about how their season starts, but like Josh Allen, that doesn't matter for Lamar. Lamar could set a bunch of records and win another MVP, and no one's going to care because it's the tale of two seasons for Lamar at this point. And even people like me who would want to pretend like it doesn't matter have to accept that that is the way he will be remembered. If nothing changes from now on, the way he'll be remembered is the way that we talked about Peyton Manning until he finally got over the hump. It's like, what a regular season quarterback. I couldn't get it done in the postseason.
That gimmick offense doesn't work when it's cold. Doesn't work when outside and on the dome.
Yep, exactly. So I don't know.
I remember that. Yeah.
That's how I feel about this team in this situation.
Lamar, no, you're right. Perception is the reality. Whether I know that the game is beyond just QB wins, but we're talking about legacies here.
Right.
And this matters. Like, it does. It does. Like, that's just because of what he has done before. He is a victim of his and his team's success too, of being in the situations to then lose. Same with Josh Allen with the Bills. It's like, people get mad, like even everyone getting on Drake May right now. Oh, he was crap in the playoffs in the Super Bowl. He made the Super Bowl. That's pretty good. So like, just even with these guys too, Lamar, to me, and I'm not going to be the 500th hipster football podcaster to go, he's a much better thrower than he gets credit for.
Of course.
Is that what he is? But the running aspect of him has tailed off, whether it's injuries, whether it's age, and it's in the stats, it's in the eye test. I think it's interesting because what the new offense I think is going to be, because if he is going to be less scrambling, less design runs, less need to be in the shotgun, if he's going to be used on fewer design runs, that then you can just start doing it to a downfield passing attack off play action, which Lamar has actually been quite good at because he has a lot of juice in that arm. He's one of the best dig throwers. I know this is niche, but in breaker, throwing over the middle, he's one of the best in the league because he's got such an exceptional arm. Throws a tight spiral that can cut through wind, and he's got cojones and willing to throw it.
I know this, but it always surprises me when I see it, is that air yards per attempt.
Yep.
Lamar Jackson is like legendary, like above 8. And like, I know it to be a thing. Every year I look at the numbers and I'm always like, damn, he really be like taking, it just is opposite of what, or not opposite, is I think of Josh Allen as that guy who's going to rip it all the way down the field. And Josh Allen's great too. I think he might be 7'9" or something. He's up there also for air yards per attempt. But yeah, that it's always a good reminder. And the question I think for Lamar Jackson is how much is his success in the passing game, how sustainable is it if we are willing to accept that the athleticism that made him such a threat as a runner is waned enough, that defenses get to the point where they don't respect it enough? I think we would both agree that he'd still be really good as a passer.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. And I think it's...
Do you have any concerns? I guess it's a better way to phrase the question, because do you have any concerns about how Lamar Jackson is going to age as a quarterback?
A little bit, in the sense that I don't think he takes great care of his body.
Yeah.
He gets sick all the time, and it's not just a joke; it's a real thing. And he's not the biggest guy. I could tell he's really, his physique, he tries to change every offseason. So obviously he's cognizant of that. And I think he's trying to figure out, do I want to get bigger or do I want to get leaner and faster? Like I could tell quarterbacks seem to go through that conundrum every offseason. I think his game will age pretty better than people are anticipating. But I do think there is more of a cliff at the end once he reaches that. But I still think he's got a nice window here. Like, I still think you got 3-4 good years out of this. And then you start worrying. Because that's just, history of like, look at like athletes like Russell Wilson and stuff like that. That's kind of that. You look at those guys that did rely on the scrambling and the running
Vic
around.
Obviously comes up too.
Vic. But Lamar's a better passer from the pocket than
course.
both of those guys, which is so funny because no one would ever think that, like with Russ and everything. But no, Lamar is a much better pocket passer. And you brought up even just air yards. I've started trying to change the denominators a little bit rather than just yards per attempt. I do yards per dropback. So I'm including scrambles and sack yardage here. And since 2013, Lamar's first. 8.9 yards per dropback. That is the league average. So 67 quarterbacks, it's 6.9. And so every time Lamar drops back, he gets 2 more yards per pop. Every single time.
Before we move on, Charlie, I know you got something to say, but that was impressive how delicately you said, Domonique, your advanced stats aren't advanced enough. That was really, it was deft the way you
welcome to the Big Ten, you Maryland Terp. Welcome to the Big Ten. This is where the big boys play. We're advanced plus over here.
No, it was like air yards per attempt. I do air yards per drop back. All right,
I love it. I would pay for that stat.
Yeah, I mean, we can get it. I'll create my own on True Media tonight. You ain't better than me anymore. That's the thing about me. I'll take that skill. It's in my pocket now.
You got it right now. No, I think his game's age fine. And honestly, there's a world where he ages like Stafford. Like, there's a world, him and Stafford throw more similar than people realize. So there's that path is more valid than people are considering, where he turns into that.
I mean, I know Lamar is a crazy arm, but like Stafford, I feel like is in that tier of arms that people talk about. Like, there's nobody better.
All time.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Stafford's more creative, I would say. Like Lamar, we're getting.
Yeah, we're getting. I'm down. Let's get in these weeds.
But Lamar, I would say Stafford's more creative from the pocket. He can throw a freaking submarine, and Lamar does too. Like, but Lamar's kind of like a poker, if that makes sense. Underneath, he'll get kind of like creative. While Stafford will get creative throwing a freaking dig route 20 yards down the field. Like that's the difference of their creativity. And then, but throwing on the move, Lamar has more creativity there as well. But no, like there's more of that path than I think people realize where he ages like that. If your arm ages, I talked to a guy that worked in a front office in the NBA one time, and we were just chatting. And then he called it the Vince Carter kind of theory or whatever. We think the guys that have the old man at the Y game, they then age better, but that's not right. The guys that are the best athletes age best, and you hope they figure out enough skill to then age into a nice role player. Well, if Lamar starts with a plus arm and ages to a plus arm, it's still a plus arm. So he starts at such a high end arm that even if it drops off, it's still very good. The guys that arms dropped off is like Breeze, who went from good to then average and below.
Yeah. Which like that's it. Breeze was the comp for one of the comps that I find interesting for Burrow, which I think we'll get to soon.
Yes.
But I wanted to say this about Lamar. The thing that gives me confidence about the way Lamar's passing will age is like in must throw situations, like he does fine. Like because people will suggest that like, well, when he can't threaten with his legs, then he won't be able to perform. But like there are lots of situations where he can't threaten with his legs and he's successful.
My cross-sport comparison for Lamar has always been Wayne Gretzky, because Wayne Gretzky was able to always avoid hits. And I've always thought Lamar, for all his running, that's one of his greatest skills, is how he can get out of bounds, how he can avoid hits and stuff. So that's another, I know he gets banged up, but I think that's other reasons for that. And I also think just what around him has deteriorated a little bit. But I do like I think this Minter and Doyle will be a nice injection of kind of like juice into this franchise. I'm pretty bullish on them.
So I have a couple follow-ups here, because I want to lead a tiny bit of Lamar Inquisition, but I have to respond to a couple things. Can you explain how he's similar to Stafford throwing the ball, aside from the creativity? Because that's fascinating. That's a comp I've never heard before.
It's their throw style is a little similar actually too. It's just how they kind of torque the arm. But it's how they throw dig routes is what I always look at, and just how they throw those in breakers. They prefer kind of the same routes. How they kind of go off of play action, how they like the flow. It looks completely different. But like how their footwork is and everything, but how they flow into a play action play is the same. Like how they read it out. They're going to look at the deep route, like in where their eyes are, I should say. Like Mahomes, or even the guy we're about to talk about, Burrow and Allen, everybody's eyes are different on the same concepts, which I always think is so much fun to watch. Like you can run the same thing for everybody, but we all have preferences. It's not, everybody doesn't play basketball and score from the same spot. And so I think with Lamar and Stafford, there's some similarities on these kind of the deeper passing concepts. They also, like, even though they can do it, I wouldn't want those guys running quick game a whole bunch. I want everything elongated. I want everything pushing down the field, touchdown to check down. And I think they kind of have the same preference of concepts. Somewhat. Stafford has a couple little differences, but some of the preferences of routes maybe is the best way to put it.
So the follow-up on this is, last year was really, a huge drop-off from the prior 2 years from Lamar. And obviously he pulled his hamstring. He wasn't running as much. But, FTN had him 19th in passing DVOA. And one of the crazy stats about him last year was he had like this massive gap. And I know every quarterback doesn't like to be pressured, but he had a massive gap in how effective he was when he was pressured versus when he wasn't pressured. And this makes me look at, some of those Ravens teams for the last couple of years were juggernauts, so we think they've reloaded this year. But do you view that year from Lamar as, like, for both of you guys, as like an aberration or a real sign of like some first beginnings of decline? Because I see that pressure number, and you said Stafford, and I was like, whoa, is there Goff in here, where when it's clean, he's unbelievable, and he was able to always make it clean because of how he was a one-of-one athlete moving around the pocket.
Again, this is me thinking the athlete figures it out. Some of these guys just do. This is my biggest concern. Even I did a quarterback draft with some of our friends, Barnwell and Greg Rosenthal, and I brought up these stats, and like the running of Lamar has dropped off, and it's not scramble so much, still decently high scrambler. It's the designed runs. And this is why I think that he kind of knows what he has to lean into now. So that's why, again, I'm optimistic about it. But there's a whole bunch of stats we go, but design runs have gone from 7.5 in 2019 to 2 in 2025. And so that's an old man game right there. Like that, If he just stays right there, I've already seen what this passing can be like, and he was super explosive last year. It was more the effectiveness underneath, and I attributed that more to his personnel as opposed to what he can and can't do. But his total rushing yards per game dropped from 80 in 2019 to 26.8, and he was still, fairly effective. But the missed tackles force is the thing that stood out to me. So this, again, I'm kind of like reiterating your concern a little bit, Charlie, is that he forced 35 missed tackles in 2019. He created 69 first downs off those missed tackles. He only forced 5 last year. And that went from 35 to 5. So I'm talking on both sides of my mouth. The optimist in me is like, he knows what he is now. He knows he can't get away with it anymore. The pessimist in me is going, does he know what he is? Does he know that he has to learn from this? Is this his new version of Lamar, or is that just a blip because he was banged up last year, which he was? But is that just the new normal? So no, I've kind of answered your question with a question, but that is something I keep in the back of my mind. I, again, am optimistic because he's such a good athlete, and I think a special mind and spatial awareness and everything that he has as a player. So I think he does figure out, but I do think that's the new normal.
I mean, of course, it's always possible that a player could hit a cliff, but for me, the thing that gives me like confidence that Lamar hasn't hit that cliff is like, it feels like it's harder to explain, right? Like it would feel harder to explain for me where it's like he's not too old. There wasn't like one specific injury that was like, oh, obviously, like that's to me. And it was just a couple years removed from, excuse me, it was just a couple years removed from MVP caliber play. Like it's really hard for me. It's a lot easier for me to say, all right, he wasn't happy. There were some issues there. He wasn't healthy. Like that to me seems more realistic. Which obviously we could be all wrong when some of these things sneak up on us.
No, I think it's just worth discussing. I think it's interesting because we're talking about this really special generation of quarterbacks coming off of a generation of quarterbacks that played great into their late 30s, some of them into their 40s.
Some of them still playing. Would you consider Aaron Rodgers a part of that generation?
Sure. Yeah, totally. Yeah. I guess he's sort of a tweener where like him and Brett Favre like buttressed it on different ways. But, with the exception of Rodgers, obviously none of them play like these guys in certain ways. But, this one of the weird things about what happened with Lamar last year, the last couple of years with Mahomes is like, Mahomes was 27 years old when it was like the first year where he was less explosive. Lamar happened when he was 29. And like, this is when we think of as like the ideal peak quarterback time. So it was just something I flagged of like, we all assume like you look at this, the Ravens are the third betting favorite to win the Super Bowl after the 2 NFC teams. And you just aren't sure.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Go ahead.
No, the other thing too, and why I think he's going to age okay, is the guys that we think of, the runners that don't age well, and I'm including Russell in this. Vic, you mentioned as well. I'll include Big Ben in this as well.
Yeah.
He was another one. Tyrod Taylor, Cam Newton, guys that didn't really age as well. They never really were comfortable throwing over the middle against like zone. And I talk about that's the Jalen Hurts conversation right now. That's Justin Fields struggled with this as well. Lamar is fifth since 2013 and throws between the numbers while pushing the ball as well. So again, that's why I'm saying the throwing aspect of him is getting to still age well. And that's why I don't think the drop off is as steep as those other guys that attacked outside or scrambled. Those guys aged the worst, and he's a different player than those guys.
The range of outcomes for Joe Burrow, I think, is probably the broadest of anybody in here. And like I mentioned, I was coming up with these comps, but for most of the quarterbacks, they're like, because they're at this crossroads, fork in the road situation, they're kind of 2 comps where your career could go. And for me, Burrow, it's Breeze or luck. It's Breeze or luck, where it's like either the injuries are something that means that it's over for you, or the injuries are something that's a part of your story, but you continue to play well and eventually win and have some success. Of course, it could be something in the middle ground, but obviously, and we didn't even mention this for the Ravens, but the Ravens, everyone's signaling how much pressure they're under and how dramatic this season is by how they're behaving in the offseason. The Ravens traded 2 first-round picks so they changed their mind. That was like, when that happened, I was like, oh, everybody about to get fired. But that aside, now Burrow, the offseason, feels like this was Dexter Lawrence is a big move. It's something that they don't do traditionally. And it feels like at the end of this season, Burrow could one out. If things don't go well, Zach Taylor definitely isn't going to be back. There's a lot riding on this season for them. And it's all kind of on the two factors. Will Burrow be able to stay healthy? And is the defense, I mean, it's not just Dexter Lawrence. They brought in a whole new defensive front, but Dexter Lawrence is the crowning piece of that. Will that be able to fix their defense?
I think the defense did improve to like not the worst we've ever seen in the history of time. Kind of more just like decently bad, normal bad. And I will say I do like the defense additions. They have good corners as well. The linebackers kind of their biggest negative. I would say the Bengals, though, if you just look at the offense, this offensive line is pretty good. Like I'm not going to go locked in top 10, but I would say top half of the league.
You like them better,
and I think that surprises some people. I think the run game will be pretty solid this year. And I know so much is getting made about the under center play action stuff. More than anything, what Joe Burrow and I think this Bengals offense has to do to like make it all feel better, they got to kind of get their explosive plays back. I think they have fallen into, well, teams play cover 2 against us. Oh, well, that's it. That's all we can do. They're playing cover 2. We just got to check it down. I'll just be Mr. Efficient. And I have a stat, and, I'm going to spoil my own preview show and give you guys this stat early from Next Gen Stats. All right, on a normal drive, you have about 1 in 4 chance of scoring a touchdown, 24.4%. This is Next Gen Stats. This is just last year. If you get one explosive play, it jumps up to about 2 and 5, 42.3%. If you don't have a single explosive play, your odds of scoring a touchdown are 4%. Is 4%, I should say. So one explosive, 42%. No explosive, 4%. Why I'm bringing that all up is that's what the Bengals have to find. Burrow has become an underneath guy because of all this cover 2. You mentioned the Drew Brees arm, and I agree with that observation, Domonique. I was going to say concern, but we'll just talk about
observation.
Observation is that cover 2, you have to push the ball on digs. This is what I just brought up with Lamar. You have to push the ball on hole shots. You have to push the ball in corners. It's making you push the ball as a quarterback. Defenses want you to check down now. That's what this offense has to rediscover. We bring up cover 2 stats. They're not very good against cover 2. They're not very explosive against cover 2. They've faced more cover 2 than anybody. So to me, Burrow, and I'm a guy that's I've liked Burrow. I think he's very good. I have not held him in the same category as the other 3 we've talked about. That is my personal estimation. I know the NFL loves him. I know every quarterback coach wants to, have him marry his daughter. I think Burrow's awesome. But it's just one of these things. He's a different player in a different category to me than the other 3 guys because of that explosive play ability that they can't always get because of some of his limitations.
He does look most like Homecoming King. And I think that is like I was reading, Charlie recommended Seth Wickersham's book about quarterbacks. I was reading that this morning, and it's just a reminder about how the quarterback holds this special place in all of our minds. And part of it does have to do with like, what do you look like a leading man or not? And of all of those guys, he's the one who does. And like, he plays incredibly well. And I think your point about cover 2 is he plays incredibly well when he's healthy. But your point about cover 2 is a good one. And that probably also speaks to the reason why he buys time so much. And like his explosive plays, when it's not just Jamar Chase being special, his explosive plays are from him scrambling. It's like he's buying time because cover 2 is going to force things to develop more slowly. And that also probably speaks to the reason why I feel less good about the offensive line than you do, is I see how much he puts them under more pressure. And that like he asks more of them because he's going to hold the ball. And then again, that's how he ends up getting injured more often, is he's a guy who's doing these levitation throws because he's not as comfortable ripping it into a hole in the defense somewhere. And it's going to be tough if the Ravens have fixed their pass rush, and if the Steelers' old guys are healthy, it's really tough. And of course, the Browns got Jared Verse now. I mean, I'm saying that I said, of course, the Browns because they had Myles Garrett in the past. Like, that's a tough division for a guy, and it's cold. It's a tough division for a guy who doesn't have the same type of confidence in his arm strength that you would like to have in those like deep hole shots.
Easiest schedule in the league. It's helpful.
Yeah, that helps.
And it's just that his playing style, he has to be perfect 10 times in a row. He can do that, but it's just hard to do that. And, I brought that yards per dropback stat again, there's 67 quarterbacks since 2013 that qualified, and he's 39th in that because of the sack yardage. He's 62nd in sack avoidance rate out of 67 quarterbacks over the last decade. He's 57th in sack EPA loss per dropback. So it's not only just sacks that he loses, it's also like pretty bad situations sometimes. So those, and I'm not going to go into the, sacks are a quarterback stat. I wouldn't say it's all on the quarterback. The scheme and the offensive line matters too, but his play style, it does impact some of that stuff that accumulates. I also think too, his pressure to sack rate is 62nd out of 63. And that is something that is a quarterback stat more than just the sack rate. Lamar's 32nd. He's smack dab in the middle. Mahomes is 4th. Josh Allen is 6th. So it's a play style. Like, again, it's a very hard play style to do. And I think that's why NFL coaches and scouts always this is what it's supposed to look like. Want to know why we've deviated away from it? It's really hard to play this way if you're not generating explosive plays. That's why everybody else is pushing towards generating explosive plays. So yeah, he's 47th over that time period in explosive pass rate. Lamar's 7th. Mahomes is 14th. So again, it's just that he's not building those plays. And the NFL is all about those. So he's a high batting average, high on base percentage hitter that needs to hit some more power, needs some more home runs. And I think that's why I don't hold him as maybe the same tier as those other guys, and then maybe rate other guys a little bit higher.
How much of the sack rate and holding onto the ball is because his defense has just been historically over like a lot, and there've been, he's played for the worst organization of
Super Bowl run. They were good.
Yeah.
They were good in the Super Bowl run. Everyone forgets. They were they had like 9 sacks against the Titans, and Burrow wasn't great in that game.
Bates was ball.
I'm going to sound like such a hater. His game's awesome. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
comparing him
to first ballot Hall of
three
Famers.
guys that are essentially demigods playing the position.
I mean, I'm sure to your point, I'm sure that skews it some, but I think over the longer sample size like that, some of that speaks to who he is as a player. Some of it, yes. I imagine if you're trailing a bunch, and you need to score in every drive, there are not downs where you feel comfortable throwing the ball away, or situations where you feel comfortable taking the check down. And if you don't feel great about taking a shot deep downfield, then you're going to buy time until you create an opportunity. But he does have the luxury of Ja'Marr Chase, so I think, if not for Justin Jefferson, I know. I feel like we talked about this. You said Ja'Marr Chase is your guy as far as top receiver in the league.
When I just go through it, I always end up back on Chase. And they're all you talk about top 4 guys. Those guys are all sick. Like if you're talking about Puka, JSN, Chase, and Jefferson.
Who do you have, Dominique? Who's your top guy?
It's a good question. I think to be honest, it's Justin Jefferson.
Same. I always go back to Jefferson as much as I think Chase is amazing.
I think I have we talk about sometimes these biases that you have that jump into your mind. I know Charlie gives me a hard time because a couple years ago we were talking about, who were we talking about? The guard for, not Edgecombe, the other guard for the 76ers.
Oh, man. You were trying to explain to me how Tyrese Maxey couldn't shoot?
Yeah, I was saying.
I don't know what you're talking about, dude.
And it's just because I have archetypes in my mind. You can't be that quick and that fast and attack off the dribble that way and always shoot. I've never seen it before. I think some of that happens when we are talking about receivers, and I think I take Ja'Marr Chase down a notch because of his build. Then I watch him play. And I look up his athleticism numbers, and no, because short area quickness is huge for me. You need to be able to accelerate as a receiver. You got to be able to accelerate fast, change directions. That's it. That's how I decide. And of course, catching all other things. But I think that what differentiates receivers for me, and Tyreek is the best example of he changed direction so quickly, he can get to top speed really fast. Creating separation that's to me is that, and of course is running the routes and setting it up and all that stuff. But from a physical standpoint, that's it. And I always assume that Ja'Marr Chase is a step below somebody like Justin Jefferson. But then when you watch him play, he's not actually that far behind. So I wouldn't be mad at anybody who said Ja'Marr Chase, but my instinct is to go with Justin Jefferson normally.
And again, it might be an aesthetic thing. It's Ja'Marr feels like such a force of nature. Yeah. He's number 2 to me.
Of course, I agree.
Really. And Jefferson, I feel and this, whether it's fair or not, feels more like the skilled,
exactly.
It's just maybe some of the aesthetics thing, but no, it's once you get to the NFL level too, is everybody's fast.
Yep.
Are you fast and quick?
Yes, that's it.
You know, everybody. Yeah.
Straight
Are you
line
fast
speed, get out of
and
here.
big?
You need a second
two
thing.
of them.
Yeah. What about?
You need two of them. Everybody's fast.
JSN, we need some more time. What about Puka? Why is it like
Puka would be
Puka's
3 to me?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and also like statistically, I think it also he's improved his game. Like some of it is some of the system and stuff like that, but he's also just really, really good. But yeah, he's improved his game. Like honestly, he's off to like a historical start to his career.
Do you put any?
Do
you put any more value on the ability to be a true on the line X receiver?
Yes.
You put a higher value on players that are capable of doing that than a flanker who's able to attack in a bunch of. Yeah, I think
harder to find. I can move a bad X to Z or power slot. I can't move a Z to X. Like, you know what I mean? It's like finding a left tackle. The left tackle can move to guard. A really good a corner or an iffy corner can move to safety. Like they can move those positions, tackle to guard, all that. But I would say an X is the hardest thing to find. That's why I rated like Tetairoa McMillan really high last year. I had Denzel Boston high this year. It's just because like that's just a harder skill set to find. Like a good X to me is better than a half tier better Z, if that makes sense. Just because of
it makes sense.
There's fewer of them out there.
I fully agree. And I don't know how we got here. We were talking about generational quarterbacks, but that was fun. I learned a bunch. I'm so happy that you could join us. We need to do this more often. Thank you so much. Nate Tice and Charlie Kravitz. Oh yeah, no, it's great. And also thanks to all the great producers, Kevin O'Brien, Brian Madigan, Megan McHale, Brian Cortez, Podville, I love you. We out.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.